Hey guys, it's Troy coming at you from a really lovely and sunny London town today actually, with another video, this time about why most dating advice is wrong. Okay, so I think this is an important topic to consider because there's so much advice out there and so much of it is it's either going to lead you in the wrong direction, it's going to give you the wrong impression about how things actually work in terms of intergender relations, the dance between the two sexes, if you like, and it's just going to put you into the wrong mindset to approach the dating marketplace, and that is not what you want. So a lot of this advice is actually really unhelpful, and I'm going to tell you why now, and then I'm going to tell you what you need to do to sort of get around this and to discern the good advice from the bad. So, okay, the first thing to say is that the reason that most dating advice is bad these days is because most dating advice that gets given out is intuitive rather than counterintuitive. Okay, so most dating advice is intuitive rather than counterintuitive. So what do I mean by that? Well, basically, think about it like this. A lot of the dating advice that you will have been given, a lot of the dating advice that you will have heard from the mainstream media, from mainstream sources like magazines, like shows like Oprah, dating coaches, things like this. A lot of that advice that you've heard is going to be very, very intuitive advice. And what I mean by that really is to say that it's advice that on the surface sounds good. It's advice that logically seems to make sense. And for that reason, it's, for a start, very easy for people to dispense because, of course, if you come out with advice that seems on the first introduction to it to be counterintuitive, then that's a more difficult sell than to come out with something that is intuitive. And also it tends to be advice that goes toward the sort of feel good rather than the, oh dear, I need to actually do some work to make some improvements in myself and my personality. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's take one very, very simple piece of dating advice that has been around for centuries, and that is to give a girl flowers on the first date. Now, is that good dating advice? I would say in most of Western Europe and also the States and probably Canada as well, that is not very good dating advice. Now, it might be good dating advice if you're in Ukraine or if you're perhaps in Russia or somewhere like that where social mores are slightly different. But in the West, that's pretty bad dating advice. But it seems like good dating advice. It sounds like the right sort of thing to do. Why? Because flowers are pretty. We know that girls like flowers, and so therefore it stands to reason if you buy flowers on the date, she's going to like that, she's going to appreciate it, and she's going to like you more. But in fact, we know that the opposite is true, because if you are on a first date with somebody, say you've met somebody on Tinder or something like that, and then you turn up with flowers, she's going to be, you know, in London, where we are now, she's going to be freaked out. She's going to be like, oh my, what's this guy doing? Is he crazy? And the reason for that is because society has changed and the way that we interact has changed. And it feels like too much investment. If you buy somebody a gift, particularly if you don't even know them, it feels like a lot of investment. Now, I'm not saying that flowers are never a good thing. I mean, flowers are lovely. I bought flowers for my girlfriend. It's absolutely fine to do that. But you don't want to be doing it right at the beginning. You want to be doing it a bit later down the road when you've gained some social purchase with her, because at the beginning you're strangers you've only just met and it's going to seem like you're investing in her too much. So that is a classic example of a piece of dating advice that intuitively sounds right, sounds reasonable, makes sense, but actually doesn't really work in the real world. And so therefore the advice that you should be taking is counterintuitive advice, or in this case, don't buy flowers. But you know, it could be something like don't be self-deprecating, which we're going to be talking about later this week. It could be something like don't smile too much. It could be something like don't take her for dinner on the first date. So there's loads and loads of things which would sound counterintuitive because they are contrary to the dating advice that we've all been given for many years, but they actually work better than the intuitive advice. So what you need to do really to get around this is that you have to become a student of human nature, which is rather a grand way of saying you need to observe people and you need to figure out what's actually going on rather than what feels like should be going on and what feels like is the right way that things should be. So what I mean by that is basically you need to be awake and aware of the way things actually go down in the society in which you live. And you do that firstly by getting out there. You do that by going out there, by meeting lots of different people, girls and guys, spending time with them and figuring out how things actually go down. You also do it by reading sort of popular news, popular sort of features, even some women's magazines sometimes, or women's articles, to find out how they're thinking about things. You can read forums, you can get involved with communities on Twitter, on different social media. Just try to get under the skin of where it is that you're living. Now, it's going to be different depending on where you live. As I say, if you move to Kiev in Ukraine, then all this advice may be completely out the window, and that's fine. But I'm talking primarily for people who are in the UK, or they're in America, or they're in Western Europe. You have to just get under the skin of your society, work out how things actually work, and then act accordingly. And remember that a lot of the advice, a lot of the narratives that are put out that you have heard for many years, that get passed on, as advice, but also in movies, in books, in magazines, in sitcoms, on TV shows, whatever. I'm not saying that advice has been specially crafted to take you down the wrong path. I don't really believe in those sorts of conspiracy theories, but it's certainly created in order to sell product. And the easiest way to sell product is to go for the simplest possible message. But remember, the simplest possible message may not be true. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for today. However, I would remind you, please like this video, hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications key so you can get updated with all of my wonderful content to come. Do get on my daily email list. The email goes out Monday to Friday. There's a free article in your inbox every day. Click the link below. And also my collection of 10 books about dating, games, seduction, the sexual marketplace, all of that good stuff is called Renegade Dating Blueprints. It can be purchased for the ridiculously tiny cost of just $39. It's worth $250, guys, so that is an incredible deal. Again, click the link below and get hold of that before the price goes up. I will leave it there for now. Bye bye.